Many visitors see a lot in London, but there are different ways of experiencing the city. Today we're talking about what a Discover Real London black cab tour involves and why many travellers find the experience a truly fabulous way to explore and understand London.
Welcome to the UK Travel Planning Podcast. Your host is the founder of the UK Travel Planning website, Tracy Collins. Each week, Tracy shares destination guides, travel tips and itinerary ideas, as well as interviews with a variety of guests who share their knowledge and experience of UK travel to help you plan your perfect UK vacation. Join us as we explore the UK from cosmopolitan cities to quaint villages, from historic castles to beautiful islands, and from the picturesque countryside to seaside towns.
Before we get started, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Walks and Devour Tours. If you're planning a trip to London, you'll already know the challenge. There's a lot you want to do and only a limited amount of time to fit it all in. That's where the right tour makes all the difference, because you want experiences that are the best use of your time with more access, less waiting and a deeper sense of the city. That's why we recommend Walks and Devour Tours. They offer walking tours and food tours designed to make your time count, often with early or after hours entry. You'll also be with exceptional local guides who add the stories and context so you leave with a richer understanding of what you're seeing and a trip that feels genuinely memorable. If you're visiting London as a couple, with family, or you simply prefer a more intimate experience, Walks and Devour Tours also offer private tour options. To learn more, you'll find the link in the show notes. Now let's get into this week's episode. Hi everybody and welcome to this week's episode of the UK Travel Planner Podcast. Now I have a favourite guest who comes on the podcast every year. He's brilliant. In fact, you were actually on the podcast twice last year, Ollie. There's a bit of a clue if you're listening. So we are talking today with Ollie from Discover Real London Tours. And the reason I have Ollie on every year, or even twice last year, because we talked a little bit about his the Christmas tours that they were doing, is that this is one of the most popular ways to see London with our Facebook group and when we do consults. The feedback we get, Ollie, about Discover Real London Tours is absolutely fantastic. So I have to have you on again this year to chat, just because we're going to have some new listeners who won't know. They'll be like, who is this Ollie? Who is Ollie of Discover Real London? What is Discover Real London? So this episode, that is what you're going to find out about. We're going to find out exactly what is involved when you take a black cab tour, why we love them, why people love them, and the advantages of being on a black cab tour with one of Ollie's team. So Ollie, I shall stop gabbling on and let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Discover Real London black cab tours.
Thank you so much, Tracy. It's always a pleasure to be on and speaking to you and your listeners. Thanks so much for having me again. I am delighted to be here to tell you a little bit about our company, Discover Real London. And it's right what you say, Tracy. Your guests have been so lovely that have been coming from your Facebook page and have heard us on the podcast. And they've brought loads of fun, loads of energy, loads of great reviews as well. And they've all had such a fantastic time. And what we do for anyone that's visiting London is we whiz you around the city in our iconic panoramic black taxis, stopping off at all the big sites, getting all the photos of you and the family and the kids and mum and dad with ease. We're escaping any rain or weather there might be. If it's hot, we've got the AC on. And we're basically serving up London to you on a plate, making it stress-free, hotel pickup or airport as well. Got a wonderful tour called the Touchdown Tour, which we might excuse the pun, on a little bit later. But essentially, we bring the sites to you in our cabs. We drive around. We've got special privileges where we can stop, and we make it stress-free and super easy to pack that all in a morning or an afternoon.
You do. And I have to say, I always feel like a VIP when I'm out with you guys on a tour. I absolutely love it. Doug absolutely loves it as well, because you do. You feel like royalty, because you do, as you say, get whisked around London and you get these special privileges which nobody else gets. And it's like, oh, this is fantastic. So tell us, what is it you think? Because obviously you've taken plenty of tours and you've got a big team of drivers who do this. What do you think it is that people enjoy the most about being in a black cab when they're seeing London?
I think that what people enjoy the most is the convenience and the fact that they're really seeing London through the eyes of a local. All our drivers were born in and around London. One thing that people may or may not know is to become a licensed taxi driver in London is akin to doing a degree. You study for years the streets. So we are like a human GPS. So the first stage of doing what we do as creating wonderful guided experiences for you guys is that we actually qualify as cab drivers. So that normally takes between 3 and 4 years. So we've got that blueprint of London. We can effortlessly navigate our way around. And then on top of that, we've done our guiding qualifications. So we can give you guys an insight to all the history. And because we know every street, we don't only focus on the big sites on our tours. We like to show you the off the beaten path, secret back streets that you'll never see if you're on, a typical, big sort of group tour in big coaches and buses and that sort of stuff. So I think what people love is the convenience, but they love it the fact that you meet as strangers, but you leave as friends with your driver guide. You spend the morning or sometimes a whole day together because we've got longer tours, and you get a real insight into what the city's about. And often people do it on their first full day or even in the afternoon if they've had a red eye flight over, and they hit the ground running and they've got a little bit like a consultant. They might want to know where the best place to eat gluten-free food is. They want to know, is this worth doing? I'm thinking of going here. How would I get the train to that? So while we're going around, you've got a consultant on board that's not only going to orientate you with the city on the tour that you've purchased, but he's going to be there and you can lean into them and ask them whatever you want. And, every one of our guides are expert on London.
Yeah, and it's great. And you guys know, I mean, when Doug and I, the last time we were, you guys, it's like you were taking us places that we didn't know about and pointing out things that we didn't know about. And it was fantastic. It really just made London, for Doug and I know London fairly well, but not as well as you guys do that have been driving the streets. And, you know all those kind of secret little corners and all the stories as well, which is absolutely fantastic, which makes, when you do a tour, that's what you want. You want to have the stories about what you're seeing because it makes it come alive. But on top of that as well, it is comfortable exploring London on a black cab. That's what I really like. You can sit back, you can enjoy it. And it's different, if you spend a whole day walking, especially if you're going to do, say you're in London for 4 or 5 days and you're going to do a lot of walking around London. It's wonderful to have a day or a few hours out on a tour on a black cab. Let's talk about some of the comfort that you get from being in a black cab, Ollie.
So the cabs are all really 21st century vehicles. They've been specifically designed for use in London. You've got a huge panoramic roof that really gives you, a three-dimensional view as you're cruising down the streets. And in the back, there's 6 seats, which is in a conference layout. So 3 rear facing, 3 forward facing. So it's really nice and social. Everyone's amongst each other and pointing out things and having fun in the back while we're cruising around. We've got AC in the back, so it's nice and cold when it does get warm in London, which, isn't as hot as some places in the world. But if anyone's used to, city life, it doesn't take much for it to feel, quite hot often. So we've got AC in the back. We've also obviously got temperature control and heat. The driver has actually got a partition, so it's actually separate from the driver cabin, but we've got an intercom, so you're going to hear commentary all the time. It's not just the stops when we get out that you're going to learn about the city. As you're driving around, our guides are going to give you stories and little tidbits of what you're looking at, and just generally keep you entertained between all the really important stops, which we always get out and give you a little walk around for. And you touched on, Tracy, walking in cities is great. We all love it. We go there, we wander around, we get lost down lanes, we grab coffees, and it's part of, exploring a city. So we really like to involve that in our tour as well. The rear of the cab is fully wheelchair accessible, so more and more we're taking multi-generational families around, and often people have got some mobility needs. So we welcome wheelchair passengers. We can easily just pull the ramp out, wheel straight in. Someone can remain in their chair, or they can choose, if they're able to sit in the seat, and we can stow that wheelchair in the front or next to them. So lots of comfort in the back, and obviously the windows do undo as well, so people are always leaning out, getting really, really good photos as we're going past all the interesting architecture. And
obviously you've got those you've mentioned it, but those panoramic roof is amazing.
Yeah, I suppose we'd say panoramic roof. People sometimes call it a moon roof. which was a new terminology to me, but some people that are maybe traveling from the US or other places might use that. But it is like the entire size of the roof when you're inside it. It's fantastic when you're driving along and going, under things like, I say under, it's a bit confusing, but when you go over Tower Bridge, you sort of go under it as well because you have all the crosswalks above. But the times like that, people just look up and think, wow, this is a view that I could never imagine getting in any other vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I mean, the advantage as well is you're sitting in comfort in the cab, but you can do things with that cab that other people can't do. So if you're exploring in another way, and I always tell people about this. I said and it's my favourite photo that I have of London. And it's the one where you pulled the cab up and I'm standing next to the red phone box with Westminster Abbey behind me. And I love that photo. I absolutely love it because it's just got so many icons, including myself, in the picture. And you can't do that in anything else. You couldn't be able to have a black cab. Well, you could with a black cab, but with you guys. But you know what I mean? You can't do that if you were on a London bus, you couldn't do it. If you're taking a bus tour, you can't do that. You can't have that kind of all the icons in one picture. But also it's that ability of how close you can get and park up to some of these like amazing sites in London.
Yeah, I often joke that if you bought a suitcase with a change of clothes in and you changed it every stop, it would look like you've done an entire weekend or a few days in London. The amount of ground we cover, if people know London well and they've travelled here and they know how far away these sites are, they would think there's no way you could do that in a morning, let alone probably a day. But we do, yeah, we cut through the traffic. We use the express bus lanes that we've got exclusive privileges to zip around. And to touch on what you mentioned there, Tracy, that it really strikes you how close we can get to the important sites and monuments and photo opportunities without being too technical and bringing like highway traffic laws into it and all that sort of stuff. The black cabs are the only vehicles that are actually allowed to stop on red routes, which a lot of London main roads are red routes. So we can drop you off right outside things. You can get up pictures. There's lots of other parking privileges that we have where we actually leave the cab and wander around. And, you can have your Lamborghini, your Ferrari, your Mercedes, XYZ, but no other vehicle is allowed to have the privileges except for emergency vehicles and things like that we enjoy. So yeah, we do get you right up front to the sites, and that is good if we have got multi-generational trips or maybe some people that are a little bit more senior coming over. They want to get out, they want the photos, they want to experience and engage with the city, but they just haven't got maybe the stamina and mobility to be able to walk around for long distances. So it works really nicely being able to jump out the cab but be so close to stuff.
And I think that the thing is as well is like you can have for example, a touchdown tour. You can get picked up at the airport and have a few hours with you guys and actually orientate yourself and see a lot of those main sites in London without feeling either that you're rushing around because you're in the back of the black cab and it's comfortable, or B, if you decided to do it another way, and for example, a lot of people, we'll check in and then maybe we'll just do a bus tour around London, but find that actually what they can do in half a day is probably see one or two sites because you're sitting in traffic, which of course, as I said, you guys have got the privileges to be able to kind of cut around the traffic. And also, what you can't do when you're doing that sort of thing is you can't ask questions, whereas there's an ongoing discussion about what you're seeing. What is that? If one of the kids sees something and they want to get hop out, you just have to ask, and you guys can stop and they can go and have a quick photo shoot, which we've done before. Doug and I did that actually at Buckingham Palace. We hopped out, had a quick photo shoot, and then you picked us up 5 minutes later and we hopped back in the cab, which is brilliant. See, it's a really good way of seeing London and seeing a lot of those iconic sites without feeling rushed or without feeling frustrated because it's taken so long to get around and see any of those things.
Yeah, for sure. I always have in my mind that our product has been and our tours have been such a good fit because they're so beneficial whether you've got 24 hours in London or you've got 5 days in London. Because if you're only here for one day, which you get lots of guests that are just passing through on their way to Europe and other places, you can literally sweep around the city, tick off all the main sites, maybe squeeze in a couple of hidden bits as well, and feel like just in 4 hours, you've done it all. Okay, you've seen everything. You've got a slice of everything. Alternatively, if you're here for 4 or 5 days, you can lean on your guide in the morning to find out, not only orientate yourself in the city and plan maybe what you want to do the rest of it, but you can ask his advice on all manner of things. Where's great fish shopping, X, Y, Z. And what we find normally is people, if they are here for a few days, they'll do our tour, they'll stop at all the big sites, but they'll decide, you know what, I really like the sound of all the history you've told me about Westminster Abbey. And they think, okay, let's come back here in a couple of days. Let's do a deep dive. Let's go inside and let's really immerse ourselves and find out everything about the Abbey, because we love the sound of that. So I think of it a bit like a taster menu. You have lots of courses, lots of bite-sized bits of stuff. And then, if you have got time, then people often come back and go inside the Tower of London or Westminster Abbey or whatever else.
Absolutely. And as I say, it's a great way to get that overview with the stories and the information as you're driving around and asking the questions, to then, do your walking tour later on in the week, go into the Tower of London, go into Westminster Abbey, maybe walk down South Bank, but it'll be familiar because you've had that opportunity to kind of to drive around and as I say, I think it's always just lovely when you arrive in London to be able to do that and have that first orientation, because for a lot of people, if you're visiting London for the first time, so many of the things you're going to see, you'll be familiar with. You'll be familiar with Big Ben. You'll be familiar with the House of Parliament. You probably recognise Westminster Abbey from outside. You'll know Buckingham Palace. But to actually see where they are in relation to the river, to each other, as you drive around, I think it really, really helps, gives you that perspective of London. And especially at the very start of your holiday, that's a brilliant way to start it off, in my opinion. Just a quick pause to thank our sponsor, Walks and Devour Tours. If you're planning a trip to London, you'll already know the challenge. There's a lot you want to do and only a limited amount of time to fit it all in. That's where the right tour makes all the difference, because you want experiences that are the best use of your time, with more access, less waiting, and a deeper sense of the city. That's why we recommend Walks and Devour Tours. They offer walking tours and food tours designed to make your time count, often with early or after hours entry. You'll also be with exceptional local guides who add the stories and context, so you leave with a richer understanding of what you're seeing and a trip that feels genuinely memorable. If you're visiting London as a couple, with family, or you simply prefer a more intimate experience, Walks and Devour Tours also offer private tour options. To learn more, you'll find the link in the show notes.
Yeah, it's a great way to launch yourself into the city for sure. And we're here, people, they might have been here a day or so, and they do email us again, hey, is there any chance we could do another tour? Because what people realise is they're sort of spoiled if they do the tour from the airport or on day one, because we make it so easy to glide around. And London is accessible. Our tube networks is really, really comprehensive. There's the bus and the boats and stuff like that. But suddenly when you're back on your own, it gets a bit harder. So it's quite often that people actually reach back out to us on day two and they're having a great time, but they say, hey, we really enjoyed that. We love the look of your Beatles tour. Or do you know what? We were thinking of going to the Cotswolds and we noticed you got a new website. Do you think we could go to the Cotswolds tomorrow? Would you be able to help us with that? So people often, they have a taste of how convenient we make things and how easy it is. And then they might come back and say, hey, can we do something else? We really enjoyed the concept of what you do. We don't want to do the same tour, but a variation of a different place or a different thing would be wonderful.
And that's actually a good segue, Ollie, into let's chat about some of the tours that you offer, because I've mentioned the Touchdown Tour. We actually have a whole episode of the podcast. I think it's episode 138, where we kind of go into a lot of detail about what's involved in the Touchdown Tour. But let's talk briefly about some of the kind of the tours that you offer that are like very, very popular ones, like the Touchdown Tour, which we know a lot of people do because we talk about, but also some of the kind of more, like the more niche ones that you've got going, like you've just mentioned. I think that's also worth saying, because also you do a bit of like a hidden secret London one as well, because we often get asked by people, I've been to London 3 or 4 times, I want to do something different. Well, going with you guys is the best way to find some of those places that you won't have found on previous trips. So let's talk through what it is that you offer, what people can do.
Yeah, there's certainly a whole variety of the experiences you can have with us. Well, I suppose it makes sense to talk about our Hidden Gems tour first. the London Detour, and that's a really popular tour for someone that is returning to London, maybe seeing the big sights and as sort of an experienced traveller here, or they're just a bit more intrepid by nature. They like the sound of seeing the underbelly of the city, and this tour really shines a light on the secret corners that people don't often go to. So we're talking medieval history, Roman history, street art, social history, talking about all the sort of things that the history books don't tell you, the social injustices and the darker side of London. This city goes back nearly 2,000 years, and there's a whole array of stories and tales about all sorts of misdemeanors that we can tell you. And these streets that look like an ordinary street, our guides bring it to life and really take you back hundreds of years to whatever was going on at that point. So yeah, the London Detour it's called, and that is just focusing on hidden gems, and that's one of the tours that is very, very popular actually. And you mentioned about people coming back, several times. They want something different. We sort of see it as a challenge when people warn us on an email or on a notes when they book. Oh, just to let you know, I studied here in the 80s and I lived in London and I've been back here really times, so I do know it really well. We sort of take that as a challenge to show us how good we know the city. And travel agents as well. We're lucky that we lots of travel agents recognise what we do and they want to book it for their clients, and they've often travelled here many, many times, and they can't believe the stuff that we show them. It's sometimes very close to where they've been before, sometimes a bit further afield, because we have got the wheels. So we can get out to places that are a little bit further away. So yeah, we do love the Hidden Gems tour. Our theme tours are really popular as well. Music, so we've got Beatles and we've got rock and roll, which are great. So if you're a fan of those golden eras of music, we go to places where the studios used to be, where rock history was made, go up to Abbey Road, recreate the famous album cover crossing, obviously. We'll show you where Paul McCartney still lives today, things like that. So that's a really insightful tour that takes you a little bit out of the centre of Zone 1 up to Northwest London. Ted Lasso, gaining momentum every year as people jump on board that wonderful show. And I'm a huge fan myself. So we like taking people down to Richmond, showing them where all those scenes were shot, showing them a bit more trivia as well in London, because you can do Ted Lasso walking tours and they're great, but they are just based in Richmond. We're going to show you the stuff in London on the way out as well. So you get a bit more of a, overall experience when you do it with a vehicle. We've got Jack the Ripper, so this is obviously a little bit more adult. We're happy to do these at whatever time, but in the winter especially they work really well when the evenings are getting dark early, because it does lend itself to that medieval crime setting around Whitechapel and Aldgate. What else have we got? We've got our countryside tours, so we'll be going out of London. So Cotswolds is always going to be at the top of people's list. We take you out to that outstanding area of natural beauty. You'll learn about the architecture. There is some history there as well, which you'll shine a light on. But for a lot of people, that's just a different dimension to their UK vacation. They see it going from the hustle and bustle of the city of London, where there's nearly 9 million people, and they're going out to these quaint little tranquil villages. So we really like to show people how dynamic the UK is, and you get a bit of free time to wander around in the little cute shops and have a traditional pub lunch and stuff like that. Bath, Windsor and Stonehenge, we go to all of those on different tours. They're always going to be, again, sort of unmissable. If you've got a few days here, give yourself a break from the city. And we cover all of those also. The touchdown tour that we spoke about a little bit, you can probably guess if you listen to this podcast what that might be, but that is a great tour where you hit the ground running from the airport, meet and greet inside. We often, if you are staying in a hotel and you've got the option of dropping your bags and you've done a red-eye flight overnight, we'll actually stop at your hotel on the tour. So then you've got the option of finishing at Borough Market for lunch, of going in the Tower of London after the tour, that sort of thing. So that is a really, logistically, that just is a winner. Also, if you are staying in a serviced apartment and Airbnb, we haven't got the option of the luggage drop, but you're not going to get into your accommodation until 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon at the earliest normally, if there's been people staying the night before. So that's just the way that you can really use that dead time, because you are a bit marooned. If you land at 7:30 a.m. and you can't get into your Airbnb till 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're straddled with all your bags. What are you going to do? So that's a way of really utilising your time. So yeah, they're some of our best selling tours. You can find us at, I'm sure you put the link on the podcast anyway, but if you go to discoverreallondon.com, then obviously you'll find all the information about them.
Yeah, and if you want to book with Ollie, how do people get in touch with you, Ollie?
Anyone's got any questions, you can reach me directly at info@discoverreallondon.com. You can book on the website. All of our tours we're able to book in real time, so you can pay and you'll get a confirmation. One of our team will be in touch the night before your tour just to reach out, introduce themselves, reconfirm the details. They'll all be super excited to meet you. All the guides are qualified. They all have the taxis that I've been describing with the wonderful big panoramic roof. And yeah, we will be super excited to meet you. And please do give Tracy and our podcast and our Facebook group a shout out when you booked in. Just let us know where you found us from.
Yeah, that's really helpful for us when people do that. We also have actually on our londontravelplanning.com website, we actually have an entire page that's dedicated to Discover Real London, and that's got photographs of myself and Doug when we've been on the tours. It's also got reviews from other either people from our Facebook group or people who've done consults for, or people who've just got in touch with us via email and said, oh my goodness, it was absolutely wonderful. And I said, oh, can we share your review, please? So I've put all of those on the website. We've also got a very popular, I was saying this to you earlier, Ollie, we've got a very popular YouTube video that I just took in January last year when I was out with you, just showing where you were showing everybody the inside of the cab, so you can actually see what it looks like in a black cab if you're not quite sure, can't visualize it. And I will link to that YouTube video, which I think we've had about 5,000 or 6,000 views on that, Ollie, so that's done really well. And maybe when I'm back, we'll get another one, because I'll be back in the spring. So we can get, because that has just gone really, really popular. So people obviously like to have a look and see, what it is. What does it look like inside a black cab? So I'll link to all of those in the show notes. I'll obviously link to Ollie's website as well. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you later on this year, Ollie. And if anybody out there, if you're going to book, let me know. Let me know how it goes. Go into the Facebook group and tell us how amazing the trip has been. As always, Ollie, it's always great to chat with you about Discover Real London, about visiting London. It's a fabulous city to visit. Is there any tips that you would share at the end of the podcast about anybody who's thinking about just visiting London this year or booking a tour with you guys?
I would say no matter what duration you're coming from, plan, because London has got so much to offer in so many different dimensions, whether you're an art lover, whether you love the theatre, whether you love architecture, whether you love history. It has so much to offer. So I would really, really encourage people to do your research before you come, because if you just get off the plane and you jump on a train and you come into London and you think, what should we do? The things that are going to get shoved in your face is, the stuff where tens of thousands of people are going to be doing as well, which, some of them for good reason, because they're great and they're unmissable and they're a, UNESCO World Heritage Site or whatever. But you're not going to be going off the beaten path. You're not going to be going to that, wonderful independent sandwich bar that's just, lit up with reviews on Google. You're not going to be going to that secret little rooftop bar. You're not going to be finding the little operators that are doing a really quirky bike tour or a taxi tour like us or something like that. You're going to be in the queues with everyone else. That's especially important if you are coming in June. So my top tip for everyone is just do your research. Tracy's page is such a great forum and so alive with, genuine travellers that are giving, such invaluable advice. So get onto the Facebook group if you're not on there. There's so many great posts and links to lots of people's experiences. And that's just, a wonderful resource for you to get started on your research.
Oh, thank you. And obviously using our websites as well, and listen to the other podcast episodes, because I'll link to your other episodes as well that you've been on. Now, I know we're only in February and we've got months and months and months away, but I know there will be people listening to this podcast in November who are going in December. And I am going to give a big shout out, because the Christmas lights, I have to say, do a black cab tour with Discover Real London and go and see some of those Christmas lights, and book early, because you guys get booked up, don't you?
Yeah, we've got a great team and we have got a lot of capacity. However, London is a really, really busy place at key times like December, like June, like July and spring break and things like that. So if you are sitting here on the fence, you're thinking, we'll book that at some point because you've got your flights, you've got your hotel. It does happen that, on a Sunday in June when it is the FA Cup final, or it is, some sort of special day and we're at super capacity, then you might just miss out on that experience. So I would say that the best thing you can do, if you know that you're listening to this and you think you want to book a tour, then just pull the trigger. We can give you a full refund up to 48 hours before you travel. Okay. So, if something does happen, then you've got that window as well. So you haven't signed up indefinitely. We inside 48 hours, then everything is set in stone, unfortunately. So it is non-refundable, but you've got potentially months and months and months to decide. If it's not for you, then you can always get a refund, but at least you've guaranteed that spot.
Perfect. No, absolutely. And I guarantee people won't want to cancel because it's too good. It's too good to miss. Honestly, it's a different way of experiencing London and an excellent way of experiencing London. So I highly, highly recommend it. I will put links to Ollie's website and to our website link and to the tours and the podcast and all the other things around Discover Real London in the show notes at uktravelplanning.com/episode 191. But that leaves me until next week from myself and Ollie. Bye, Ollie.
Thank you so much for having me, Tracy. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Okay, everybody. Happy UK travel planning until next week. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the UK Travel Planning Podcast. As always, show notes can be found at uktravelplanning.com. If you've enjoyed the show, why not leave us feedback via text or a review on your favourite podcast app? We love to hear from you, and you never know, you may receive a shout out in a future episode. But as always, that just leaves me to say, until next week, happy UK travel planning.